Let's talk about what makes Nielse's performance of Critter Soul Baby live on Jen's TV awesome. Hi, I'm Dr. Mark, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Niels is one of my students. We've been working together for a few months now. And he finally kind of had his TV debut here, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome and thought I would share with you and talk to you about what makes it so awesome. Let's do this.
I could speak Spanish to anyone I chose to, but I never quite spoke it to you.
Okay, cool. So what are we seeing? What are we hearing? Well, what we're seeing is we see him sitting there on a stool, purple lights, casual clothes, but looks put together. We see camera shots that are cutting away to the guitar. Why? Well, because the intro is a lot of guitar. And these purple lights, what are they doing for us? They're setting this mood, almost nighttime, a little more melancholy, chill, down type of song, right? You'll notice that he pops out right there in the center because he's getting hit with those warmer whites, yellows. And so our focus is pulled in right to him with this nice purple background. All works really well, simple, but effective. Love it. What are we hearing here? Well, what we're hearing with his voice is it's a very conversational kind of sound, right? It sounds like he's just talking to us on pitch a little bit, and he's keeping that airflow super consistent, super resonant, and relatively open. A ton yet? Nope, not yet. He's giving us a nice setup to this kind of chill vibe that I'm guessing is going to take off here. So let's see what happens.
Every time I try to, your eyes light up at mine, and it seemed like you're trying to send me to sleep now, into the arms of dusk. So I'm yours to keep now, but I'm fighting the war night long.
Okay, so as you're watching here, are you seeing anything that's super distracting? No, not really. At least not as I'm watching here. Nothing that's super distracting. You'll notice how deliberate he's being with his mouth, though, if you watch closely enough. Both with what he's doing with his language. He's being very clear and articulate, but he's also not putting a lot of stress here and trying to open his mouth super wide yet. Again, just keeping it conversational. Finding that balance between keeping things relaxed but not sloppy, keeping them relaxed but being deliberate and articulate is really challenging, especially when we're talking about this style of music. Because if it gets too precise, too clean, too deliberate, it doesn't sound right either. If it gets too sloppy, too lazy, then it starts getting heavy, tense, uncomfortable, and we don't understand what you're saying. So it's all about trying to find the right balance. And I think he's doing an awesome job.
My demons chase me and the rats are only racing. Look, I'll be busy chasing you.
So if there's anything here that I would say that I think would make it even better is if we engaged his eyes, right? So you'll notice there's times where he's just kind of staring off down into this nowhere land down here, and it just kind of goes there. What that communicates to the audience is that something's going inside your head, and that the singer is thinking about something. The trouble with that is that it leaves us wondering, well, what are they thinking? Now, we're getting some hints on that because he's singing and giving us music, and so he's sharing some of that. But what would probably make it even more for the engagement for our audience is if we took what was inside your head here and put it out here in the audience or out here in front of you so you could actually see it and interact with it. And so we really saw the singer engaging in a way that was really engaging with the context, with an imaginary world that's around you, and not just putting it all up here in our head. Now, would most people look at this and think, oh, that's what's going on? No, it makes sense, and it matches, because this is probably what someone would be doing, what they would actually be doing with their body if they were thinking and saying these words out loud, right? But we got to always think, as a performer, how do I engage my audience in a way that's still believable and genuine, authentic, still a way that someone would say this, but in a way that gets my body to react just a little bit more so the audience can not just hear what's going on inside my head, but also see it.
But you're always flying faster, you lush little disaster, more than my heart could ever do. But you send me to sleep now, into the arms of dusk.
So, arms of dusk. You'll notice he's using this upper two smile, this 80% of yawning smile feeling, to make sure that that sound stays forward, clean, easy, and consistent with everything else. The temptation on arms is to put an space in back. So say the word hug, then say arms, trying to keep that same place. Arms of love, right? That's going to get heavy, pull it back, get it swallowed, and make it not sound consistent with everything else. But because he keeps this and back, arms of love, right? Then it keeps it forward, keeps it more consistent. Love it.
I'm yours to keep now. I'm alright with the one I love.
Okay. See how these little gestures that are going on with his face? So even though I'm giving him a hard time about what he's doing with his eyes, his face is still being really expressive. And you can tell he's engaged in the imaginary world, the context, the meaning. He's trying to communicate, not just sing pretty. He's letting his voice follow what's going on emotionally inside him. Yes, there are techniques in there that he's using from a technical standpoint and aren't just emotional, but he's wrapped them all into this imaginary world. So that's awesome. Clearly the imaginary world's there. I just want him to take it from inside his head to putting it out here so he's engaging with a way that we can watch and see.
Yeah, turn you into a god now, on a mountain in the sky.
Okay, so we're getting some distortion here. I was asked earlier this week in a lesson, about distortion, right? And about some specific singers, and is this healthy? Is this good? Is this bad? Can you do this healthily? Is there any way to make it so it doesn't wear you out here? And on, right? The short answer is this. Anytime we open our mouth, we're spending vocal capital, meaning we're putting wear and tear on this voice. Different activities put different levels of wear and tear on our voice. They are going to cost us vocal capital. We've talked about this in some other videos. The key really is how much vocal capital are you spending and can you afford it? What do we mean by that? Well, can you sing that way for one note and not do any damage, not feel a lot of vocal fatigue, not see any big results that are really going to take you down over time? If so, great. Can you sing it for a whole phrase? Can you sing it for two? There's going to be a point at which it's just too much. Even if you're singing your most efficiently, you sing 20 hours a day, even if you're singing efficiently, it's going to end up getting tired, fatigued, and you're going to end up causing damage. The voice isn't like any other instrument that you can play on hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end, and it will just keep ticking as long as you can, right? This instrument is made of flesh and tissue that will takes a beating over time, even if you're singing your most efficiently. So the key is to make the sounds as efficient as possible. And if you're using techniques or sounds that cause you to pay more vocal capital, do it judiciously, right? You'll notice it's just on a note, on a few moments here that we add that in, and then he pulls back to this easier, sustainable place. He's still making that distortion, that kind of tenser place, relatively easy. And we have since then, I think, worked even more on how to make it even easier. But the goal here is he's being smart about how he's spending his vocal capital. He's not singing it the whole time because we don't need it. We get the emotion, we get the color. It goes into the whole mix of the song, and our ears get that vibe and can carry that on without him having to sing it phrase after phrase after phrase. So really smart use.
As my comet crashes down now, I leave this world far behind, but you send me to sleep now, into the arms of dust, so I'm yours to keep now.
Okay, so the other thing I want to point out here is as he's singing a lot of really intense stuff, right? And he's playing pretty hard on that guitar because it's an intense moment of the song, right? What we'd see from a lot of performers is we'd see a lot of tension start creeping into this neck and these shoulders, right? Are we seeing that here? Nah, he's keeping it really nice and relaxed, keeping the tension in the facial expression and trying to keep everything else in here as released and open as possible. Awesome.
I'm alive with the one I love.
Okay, so what happened there? Well, all of a sudden the intensity dropped off and it got quiet all of a sudden. The temptation is going to be just to keep doing what you're doing vocally, right? But he let his voice back off a lot too, right? It wasn't just dynamic. He made it breathy too. He pulled the placement back. All three of those things are ways that we can soften our sound and dial it back a bit. You'll notice that he still kept some forward placement in there. He still kept that air flowing really consistently. He still kept open space, but he adjusted a few elements to really pull it back with that music so it matched beautifully. Love it.
I fell into a phase.
Other cool thing that we see here is we see the screen over to the side. Even though it's a video thing, it gives us visual variety and it gives us this close-up, more information that we wouldn't have otherwise, right? Love it. Some of these things are technologies that we don't realize that we could use even at our house, right? You could get a hold of a projector relatively easy and project on a wall behind you and get these different views and different video going behind you at the same time. There's a lot that you can do to get some variety in what you're presenting visually, not just what you're doing in your body, but with what you're doing around you that's available to you, right? Get a color changing light that you could put on an LED color, right? There's a bazillion ways to make performances work now. I love this performance. I really love what's going on here. I also coming into it a little prejudiced because I know Niels really well at this point and know that he's a really smart, intelligent performer who's really deliberate, not just about his practice, but his performing and what he's trying to communicate. And so I know that what I'm watching here are really specific choices that he's made over time, which is always exciting to me to be able to see. I'm also privileged in that I was able to see where he's been and how he's grown because of how hard he's worked. And so I think you're going to see more from him in upcoming months and years. So keep your eyes out. Keep watching for him. I think he's an upcoming talent worth paying attention to. You can book a lesson with me at foundyourvoice.com. You can also send me video or audio clips if you want me to give you feedback on your performance singing or anything else you're wanting to hear my comments on. You can also find little micro lessons on TikTok. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Well done, Niels. See you guys next time.